when a new technology gives evil the edge.
Let's hit him with sound attack!
The battle for good rages on. Sound attack. Figure and vehicle weapons lock in for...
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome to the end of the summer of small vehicles and playsets.
Even though we didn't look at any playsets, and there was that Hank guy.
Anyway, we're gonna finish the summer the same way we started, by looking at a Cobra FANG toy.
So meet the Cobra FANG 3. This vehicle was released in 2002 with all original parts and was part of the G.I.Joe vs. Cobra line. And the first thing we should do is compare it to the original. While the FANG 2 was a radical reinterpretation of the concept of the first, this one, while also an interpretation, is far more in spirit with the original. It's a good take, though it's quite a bit bulkier.
There's a reason for that we'll get into later.
The color scheme is nice and subdued, black, gray and predominantly shades of blue. It reminds you of the classic Cobra blue without actually being that.
There's plenty of nice detailing.
There's stuff like exhaust pipes and machinery, but my favorite part has to be the steering console cover. It provides a bit more protection for the pilot than previous FANGs, and it looks like a Cobra head. That's just awesome! What's less awesome when it comes to detailing are the twin guns on the front. Oh, they look cool when seen from above, but they're hollow underneath to save some plastic. Also, they only swivel up and down, while all previous FANGs had fully movable front guns. I will admit they look like they pack more of a punch since they're twin Gatling guns. It also has a spring-loaded missile launcher underneath.
Because even in 2002, we couldn't escape the 90s.
Speaking of armaments, we now come to one of the most baffling things I've ever seen on a G.I. Joe vehicle. It comes with a missile that attaches to the side. This missile has a handle on it. A freaking handle, as if it were a gun.
I mean, what? Why? Where? Oh!
This is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. The only reason it wasn't on my dumbest accessories list is because technically it's a vehicle part.
This makes no sense.
It's the most useless thing I've ever seen on a missile.
And I'm not even done complaining about it. There's more.
You'll note that the peg used to attach it to the FANG is quite a bit larger than what you'd expect. Hell, you shouldn't expect a peg on the missile at all, since usually those are on the vehicle with just a hole in the weapon itself. There's a reason for both the size and the location of the peg.
And it's all because of the main gimmick of the toy.
The FANG 3, just like all the vehicles from the Joe vs. Cobra line, had sound effects. They were activated by pressing a button, but that wasn't all. Various guns and missiles had those pegs, all shaped slightly differently, so they could make the sound device play different effects, like gunfire or missile launch sounds. Yeah, they mutilated a good number of weapon molds for a dumb gimmick. It's also the reason this FANG is quite a bit bulkier than the original. They needed room for the electronics. By the way, the FANG had two slots for inserting the missile, one that manipulated the sound effects and another that's just to put a second weapon in.
Except the bloody FANG only came with one missile.
So you have to find a second one to make it fully armed. It's the damn Pogo all over again with its two missiles when there's room for three.
Anyway, enough complaining about the pegs. Let's complain about the lack of pegs.
I'm talking about a seat that does not have one where you could plug a figure in, so it has to just kinda wedge in there and hope it fits snugly. It does not fit snugly, so a figure will fall out.
Oh, that reminds me, this was the first FANG toy to ever come with a pilot.
It came with version 3 of Cobra Claws. I'm not gonna get into that character here, they'll get their own video one day, but I will point out they gave him a different head sculpt and altered the chest to include a breathing apparatus.
This does beg the question.
Why the hell did they keep the Claws name when there were so many modifications? They should have made it a unique FANG copter pilot. He certainly looks the part, his color scheme works great with the vehicle, and he has a real menacing look to him. Going back to the play features, the back rotor is a moving part, but there's no little handle on it like on the original, so it's hard to actually move it. The blades obviously spin, but they've got one more trick up their sleeve. They are partly held in place by a slot, and you can click them out of it to create a more compact storage form. A feature some other G.I. Joe helicopters could have benefited from.
One last thing I want to mention is the landing struts.
When you look at how bulky the toy is, they are comically small, kinda making them look like chicken legs. Being so small, they'd make the FANG a bit unstable, but that's fixed by the rear having a non-functioning wheel as a sort of third leg. The weird thing is, the entire back of the toy is removable, and when it's gone, the FANG is perfectly stable. So the back solves a stability problem thanks to the wheel that it created itself.
And that was the FANG 3.
It's a good-looking toy and a great reimagining of the original. They changed it enough to be its own unique thing while still clearly paying homage to the Mark I. And that was the only toy the FANG 3 got. Its mold was reused with some slight retooling as a vehicle for Wild Bill, one of which you can see here. They obviously had to change the Cobra heads, it would have been weird if they didn't.
That means it's time to talk about the character. Though you're not gonna get much here.
The FANG came carded, not boxed, which is kinda weird, but it was the style for small vehicles at the time. They were sold on the standard black card, but later also on a green card. The black one at least has some FANG-specific artwork on it, though it's a bit underwhelming.
The back of the card gives us a smidge more information about the vehicle.
For one thing, the name is back to being an acronym, the same one as the original in fact, Fully Armed Negator Gyrocopter. As you'll recall, the FANG 2 dropped the acronym since it wasn't anything like a gyrocopter. We also learned that it's based on secret designs stolen by Cobra Commander.
Okay, that's a bit weird.
I mean, stolen from who? The Joes? But their versions came out after the FANG did. Then again, these could have been in development when Cobra stole the plans and they beat the US military to producing them.
Wouldn't surprise me considering the way government contractors work.
As far as other media go, it might have shown up in modern comics, but I don't have most of those, so I couldn't tell you.
So I'm afraid we've come to the end.
And that was the Cobra FANG Mark III, a nice homage to the original while doing its own thing. Oh, and if you're wondering why I didn't play any sound effects it could do, that's because the batteries are dead.
On all 5 of the ones that I have.
Meanwhile, some of the Sonic Fighters backpacks from freaking 1990 still work with their original batteries. And so another summer of small vehicles and playsets has come to an end. Soon we'll be diving back into the comics, cartoons, and characters. Oh, and there will be the occasional episode about a knockoff toy, as viewer feedback has shown me that's something you guys want to see.
Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?
When a new technology gives evil the edge,
Let's hit him with sound attack!
the battle for good rages on. Sound attack. Figure and vehicle weapons lock in for different battle sounds.